Okay. Let me see if it actually comes up here. There we go. It's going. It's receiving the content. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and humanoids of all ages. Welcome to the first podcast with me, the Giant, and my co-host,
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. Welcome. And today, what are we talking about?
Today, we are talking about the best and worst film-to-book adaptations that have graced our screens.
Wonderful. I like it. I like it. That sounds good to me. So, yes. So, we're talking about the best and worst. So, we've done a bit of research, and we decided on our picks a couple of days ago. And who wants to start? That is the question. Do you want to start?
Okay, so shall we start with the best or the worst?
Well, everyone loves the worst, so I think we should go for the worst first.
Okay, so the worst. The worst for me has to be the Percy Jackson series.
Okay, so the Percy Jackson series. For people that don't know the Percy Jackson series, what's it about?
Well, the Percy Jackson series is about a boy called Percy Jackson, as you can probably guess from the title.
Yeah.
He is he's a demigod living in New York, and he turns out that his father is the Greek god Poseidon.
Okay.
And the Greek gods are still alive and kicking, and poor Percy, at the age of 13, has become very, very much aware, or monsters have become aware of him by this age, and he has to defend himself against all these challenges. These are epic books filled with memorable characters, amazing plot lines, and very funny dialogue. Not only with that, but it shows a great range of diversity. It shows dyslexia and other learning disabilities within its script. And overall, they are fabulous.
So you love the books? Just to get that clear, you like the books?
Oh yes, just a little.
Just a little bit. You know, you have enjoyed them just a bit.
Small bit.
Small bit.
Not
Just.
obsessed. I'd like to make fans clear. I'm not obsessed.
Sure, she's not obsessed. I'm just shaking my head. No, of course she's not obsessed. No.
It's not smoke I smell at all.
Oh wait, what's that over there? Is that a bit of fire? No. Just ignore it. It's fine. There's nothing. It's nothing.
We're all sane.
We're all perfectly sane. I mean, this is yes, a giant and a hobbit are talking about books. I love it. It's great. So without getting too distracted, 2 seconds. I'm just checking all the stream rate, just making sure it's all healthy looking. Stream is healthy. Stream. I don't know. I think we're losing them. I don't know, guys. It's not looking perfectly healthy, I'm afraid. And I just want to double check your sound, so I will just go back a bit. And oh, okay. So nobody can hear you, unfortunately, because I've turned you down far too much. So if I put you up here, let's hear. I think that should be better. Yeah, I mean that's double the volume, so it will be pretty good. But yes. So, you like the Percy Jackson theories. We're just going to get that cleared up again because the audio was pretty low there. So, how many books are in the Percy Jackson series to start with?
So, within the Percy Jackson series, you do not just have the Percy Jacksons, you also have related series such as the House of Cain, related to the Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
You have a more recent Norse cycle, which follows a Kurt Cobain-looking character, which is pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
And you have the Blood of Olympus following the Percy Jacksons as a sequel. Within the Percy Jacksons, you have several books, the first being The Lightning Thief and the last being The Last Olympian.
Okay.
So I think there is about 5 or 6 in all.
5 or 6 books in all. Got it. So, using phone. Perfect. Okay. Now we have to go on to the books. So, no, not the books, the films. So
yes. Oh God, yes, the films.
This is picked as your worst. This is picked as your worst film adaptation then, and what's the reason behind that?
The reason behind that is they have absolutely mauled almost every worthy thing about the Percy Jackson books. One being the memorable characters.
Yeah.
They have, first things first, they made Annabeth blonde.
Okay.
And that is the biggest no-no in my book, because everything about Annabeth is meant to be your stereotypical, I know this is stupid, but dumb blonde. She's blonde, curly hair, grey eyes, and she is in fact...
I think you meant that they made her a brunette, because you just said...
Oh yes, a brunette. Sorry.
Yes.
God, what happened there? Yes, they made her a brunette.
You got so frustrated with it. You were like, she's blonde! She's meant to be blonde! There's no other colour for
I
her.
envisioned how it ought to be. My brain could not compute the fact that they made her a brunette. And she should not be a brunette, she should be a blonde. And the fact was that in the book she was blonde, but this helped to display the fact that she has to face these stereotypes and overcome them during her life. Which is a...
Sorry, pardon me.
No, it's fine. It's a big part of her character, and they have excluded this. And it is extremely easy to get a blonde, curly-haired actress.
Yeah. So the only thing I want to say is she actually quite smart, intelligent, but she's just got blonde hair, so she's perceived as a dumb blonde, or?
Yes, that is the exact point. And the idea is that she's very intelligent because she is a daughter of Athena, and even though she has dyslexia, it's nothing to do with intelligence.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I like that. Okay, so what happened in the films then? Because there is something that the films did, wasn't there? Apart from that, I mean, it wasn't just turning her from a blonde to a brunette.
No. I could have gently gotten over that. The fact is that I accept that people want to show diversity. It's brilliant that they do. But Grover is meant to be small, wispy, ginger hair and Caucasian.
Yeah.
Very, very funny.
Yeah. In
the books, he's not.
In the books,
he's not. Of that, though, he is still a very cool character. Yeah. I will admit. In the books, he's 10 times better. There is much more diversity shown in the books as well in comparison to the film, despite that.
Okay. So what sort of diversity are we talking about here then?
We're talking about simply showing LGBT couples with Nico, and later on with a guy from the Apollo cabin. I am so sorry for any spoilers, but it is brilliant. Nico is one of the best characters, and his coming out was in the most fabulous way possible.
Well, how long have these books been out for? I mean, they've been out for a good number of years now. I mean, it's...
A while, yes, but some people have just started to read them or are in between reading them.
Okay. So I just got a bit of feedback. If we can keep the pitch, if we can try and keep the phone as in about mid-range sort of thing, just so the volume stays nice.
About here?
About there. That should be about right. It's just because I think you get away from it, it's a bit too quiet, and if you get a bit too loud, it's a bit... I think some people's eardrums are being exploded, which is fun to watch.
I apologise.
That's fine. We will be sorting this out. So this is the first stream, and we'll be sorting this out hopefully by the next stream or the stream after, which will have a proper microphone and we'll have it all set up properly to go. But this is we just wanted to get it out and get a feeling of the ground sort of thing. So we've got one person watching. His name is Alex. He's a regular on my other channel, and he's decided to come over and enjoy this podcast. So, but anyway, digressing. Anyway, okay. So the book's been out for a while. They made a film of it. That was back in like 2013. And what went wrong for the film?
Well, not only did they not show the diversity, they didn't get the dialogue right, they didn't get the characters right. Yeah. Prime example, the brunette Annabeth. Yeah. And they didn't show some of the really, really fabulous characters that these books have. Oh, okay. But the worst thing they did wasn't in Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. It was in the sequel, which was The Sea of Monsters, which is actually the culmination of all the rest of the books.
So wait, all of the books have been put into that film?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. That's stupid.
They did it.
What?
They took what they thought were the main plot elements and condensed them down into one roughly 2-hour film. That does not work.
So like,
That is why they lost so much, and it was not wonderful to watch either.
how many
It was
books
so bad.
did they condense down? Because of course you had the Sea of Monsters. How many other books
Yeah.
were there?
So the Sea of Monsters,
Yep.
you have the Titan's Curse, you have the Battle of the Labyrinth,
Yep.
and then after that you have the Last Olympian, if I have it correct.
Okay.
Might not be 100%.
This
These
is fine.
4 books,
Yeah.
all with their very full and complete storylines, were condensed into 2 hours on screen.
Oh wow!
And that is not good. It did not work at all.
So that was the end of the film series. I mean, they're not remaking more films, are they, or are they? Do you know?
Please God, no. As far as I know, though, there's no talks to do another Percy Jackson film, considering the fact they tackled all the other books in that series.
It kind of shoots itself in the foot, doesn't it? A bit, kind of going, yep,
yeah,
we've done all the
but
books.
They could, if they want, go and attack the other series preceding, after this events happen.
Okay.
In this book storyline.
Yeah.
So they could go and do the Blood of Olympus or the Norse mythology ones, or even the Canes.
So there's a lot more material out there to kind of galvanize and to just crap all over sort of thing, and just to kind of take it how they want to sort of thing.
If they want to, yes.
Yes. Hopefully they won't. Hopefully.
Please God, no.
So yeah, so what's the age range for this book? Like, what's the who are they trying to target for the series and for the films? Is it teenagers, children coming to teens, or the elder generation, do you think?
Well, I love them, and I'm in my early 20s, but they are generally aimed at a young teen audience, so adolescents from 13 sort of to 15 and 16.
Okay.
And the books tended to age along with their audience as well, because the Percy Jacksons in the beginning, very much early teens, adolescents, and later on it's sort of later teens.
Yeah. So it followed it followed the Harry Potter series, which like each year Mr. Potter grows up a year sort of thing. So it's following in with that sort of similar theme of like going from just turning to a teenager, going through that whole phase and dealing with all the issues of adolescence and upwards sort of thing. So
yes.
So going on with that question, how do you feel? Because you said there's a lot of discussion with LGBT stuff going inside, different relationships, a lot of depth in there sort of thing. Did the film bring any of that in? Did it try to get that in there at all sort of thing, or did it just ignore it completely?
Basically, it just ignored it completely.
Yeah. Nope, we're not having this. Just bury it down, guys. Yeah. Bury it down. We don't need it. We don't need it. Just
make it simple.
Make it simple. Make it safe. We gotta be able to get us out in like 6 months. 6 months. That's just out the door, guys. But we want to talk about this stuff. No.
We can't have a smart blonde.
We can't have a smart blonde. No smart blondes here. Shh. Who ever heard of a smart blonde?
Exactly. It's one of the things with the books, though, and one criticism I will say that for me, it feels like more recently with the books, they are pushing, Rick Riordan, the author, is pushing diversity almost too much as it's in your face. Now, I really like seeing diversity. It is amazing.
Yeah.
But when it gets to that, it seems like it's there just to make a point and a statement rather than to provide a well-balanced, rounded view and world. Yeah,
so rather to influence the story and base it in that world where it all works, because that's the thing. Because if you have to have your story work, and if it works, then that's fine. It's perfect sort of thing. But then if you try and force elements into it, it looks like you're how do I phrase it right? It looks like you're stretching the world to fit your narrative, but that's not how the world works, sort of thing. It's like that's not how all the previous stories and all the previous tales have intertwined into that world. It's you're trying to inject elements that wouldn't fit chronologically and Is that right, or am I going off a little bit there?
Well, I think it's more just to get the popularity vote, being honest, because a lot of his readers are actually dyslexic and are slightly diverse. And so they like to see this diversity being portrayed. So he's really, it seems to me like he's packing it in there
Okay.
just for that.
So it's more to pamper the audience than it is for a useful world in a way.
Yeah, and show well-rounded view.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So anything else? Anything else you want to enlighten us about the films, to book? Anything else we need to know as to the full extent of why it's the worst film rated by you today? Anyway.
Well, it was, as I said before, the bad portrayal of the characters in their costume and makeup designs through condensing the story and losing the essence of it in that condensing. And simply, it's very bad fight scenes and one very lame joke in the second movie that's half passable is the only thing.
Okay then. So that's all right. So that is the combination of your worst film and the reasons behind it as well. So the reasons why the adaptation didn't work and what they did to the books to the film. So then it's my turn now for my worst film to book adaptation. Now it's not too hard to guess if you're looking on the video feed right now, because it's right next to The Lightning Thief. You might not be able to see it because I don't think you're on the live stream, but it is it's Aragon. Now,
yes.
I love dragons. I'm not kidding you.
Who doesn't love dragons? Dragons are awesome.
Know, right?
Dragons are sexy.
All the time. Like I had dragonology growing up as a kid. So in England and Ireland, we had these books come out. These big books. Like we had they were called Dragonology, Wizardology, and there was a third one. You might know it. They also had like Mummiology and all that sort of stuff.
Witchology.
Witchology, yes. So I had these books growing up as a kid. We had, I had books which I read. I read lots as a kid, and it was like dragons. Like we had, I had The Hobbit, and we had Smaug the dragon, and then I had
Smog.
Smog. And I've read so many books with dragons in, and dragons are wonderful creatures, and it's such a wonderful thing to see. And then Aragon came out, and I started to read Aragon. My God, the amount of detail!
It was, oh yeah.
There's like 400-500 pages of this, and you just sit there like I was a kid, and you just sit there and you're just reading, and you're just reading, and you're just reading, and it's just you just don't stop. And it's just so much material in there. There's so much interesting stuff. Like one of my favourite ones was actually raising Saphira up from the egg that he found when he was hunting the deer to an actual dragon. And
she is so sassy in the books. Oh my God.
So sassy. I love it because she's got her own personality. She's got really depth to it. And something that I learnt later on was that the writer is like my age. I think it's like 23, 24 now. Or like, no, maybe a bit older now, because I think he was like 19 when he wrote the first Aragon book. But he actually turned out to be a bit of an arsehole. I found out the actual author, which was funny, because he wrote these wonderful books with such depth and like Aragon having to go off and fight and do all this stuff, but like none of the characters were written poorly, which I loved. Like they were all written well. Even the main protagonist, who was very much the main protagonist, you could go, main protagonist, easy, done. He still had like lots of depth, lots of roundness to him. Like he had his uncle, he had who he loved, he had the girl in the town. There's lots to it, sort of thing. And then they made a film, didn't they? They had to make a film.
Yes. I mean, Jeremy Irons, I feel sorry for him. He is a good actor, but
yes, he is. I like the only two redeeming graces of the film I can see is Jeremy Irons was his mentor, wasn't he? I believe I got that.
Yes,
right. Yes,
he played Brum.
Yes, I loved I loved how he did it. I loved that. Like great, perfect. And also the woman that voiced Saphira, She was great. I loved her, great voice, sort of thing. But then we come to everything else. To start with, it's the length of time. It's about an hour and a half. I think it's an hour and 41. No, it's an hour and 41 minutes of film content, and it's just like you've got 500 pages of books. All of it's interesting. All of it's integral to the story.
Yeah.
An hour and a half. It's almost like making an animated Lord of the Rings movie, which they did back in the 1980s. If you haven't seen that, check it out, because you'll know how bad that is. Because they tried to do all 3 books in one film. My God.
Yep.
And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why we haven't seen book 2 and book 3 come out in movie form anyway. Because the first Aragorn film just killed the movie franchise. Because it could have been it could be like if it had been 3 hours and it had been thought out a lot more, sort of thing, a lot more depth in there, would have been a lot more interesting to watch, sort of thing. I definitely think it would have done really well.
Oh yes,
because it has a massive following. Like Aragorn has a gigantic following. It was like lots of people write. It's like, well, it was one of the most popular books back in the time, just because how much detail it had. But yeah, so to start with the film. To start, Aragorn finds Saphira's egg, same way that he finds it in the book. That's fine. Now, how is that egg raised, you ask? Well, it's born, it's a little dragon, starts eating some meat. It then flies into the sky and just magically transforms into a full-birth dragon. Because that happens.
Yeah, it's not a good time leap, is it?
It's not the best time leap when Aragorn stood in Saphira. I'm a full-grown dragon now. Yep, that's how things work. Yes. Welcome to the fantasy world where we make up.
And the worst thing though is that they left out this really great little moment in the book. I hope you don't mind me interjecting.
No, please do.
And it was when Aragorn comes to see Saphira, and he's grouchy because things are going very well back at the house because they're suspicious of him, both Scarrow and Ronan. And he goes up to her and she goes, Aragorn. Yes, that's my name. Don't wear it out. Aragorn. What is it? Aragorn. Is that the only thing you can say? Yes. And I mean, if you had that in the film, that would have been just brilliant. That would have saved the film, even though how bad it is. It would have.
It would help. It definitely would help.
And her being drunk with hiccups. And who doesn't want to see a drunk hiccuping dragon?
Who doesn't want to see a drunk hiccuping dragon?
In a huge room surrounded by dwarves.
It was so good. And there was such good depth. Yeah, like to the books, there was such good depth to it. There was so much content there. It's sort of on the basis that you had, is that there was so much content there available to take from, to influence and to create, but they just didn't, and they just sort of confirmed. So it's like, oh, 1 hour and 40 minutes. That'd be fine for a 400-page book. Yeah, no problem. Yep. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. No problem.
It's a fancy description anyway.
Yeah, and then So what else? What else is that? The fact that it was too short. The fact there wasn't enough detail in there. Pretty good. The fact that Saphira's dragon evolved in about 10 seconds. There was also... What were the monsters that they had in the film that chased Brom and Aragorn that ended up killing Brom?
Oh, the Razak.
Yeah, the Razak. And it's just like... No, not like that. No. That's not...
They're not these insect things with... like antennae coming out of their, or feelers coming out of their mouths.
We be maggots, we all form together underneath you.
We have group intelligence.
We are smart beings. Ants beings.
They had beaks and they were like men, except they have this black exoskeleton underneath their heavy black robes.
Exactly. And
there's no like trading tentacles anywhere.
They didn't, and then also you had he had his cousin's whole story as well in Aragon as well.
Yeah, Ronan's story was so good.
It was.
It's
like
nearly could be a book series in itself, like.
like no powers, just a man able to rile the whole village to protect him against the Razak and fighting back. There's like he does so much. He like defends the village. He's saves the people, and it goes like into the later books sort of thing. If you've not read them, you might want to turn it down a bit now.
Yeah.
But he joins up with Aragon again, like, and they have that big discussion. He ends up fighting with Aragon. He's got this massive hammer, and he just goes around just defeating the I guess the Overlord is the best way to do it, because it's been a while since I've read the third book. But yeah, and he's on the battlefield with all the men for the village, and they're all armored up and they're all fighting with Aragon sort of thing. And it's just like there's so much to it. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, they go and make a bloody movie. But anyway,
Indeed.
but that's why I feel that Aragon was the worst film adaptation I've seen so far. Is the fact they just lost so much meaning behind it, and they just kind of made it to be a hit piece fantasy type action movie. Just like a bit of fun, a bit of colour, no real substance. Whereas it could
None at all.
It could have well been a Lord of the Rings series where
Yes.
Well, like the director's like, no, 3 hours. I want 3 hours of movie time, and I'm not taking anything else. And we will make a second and third book movie out of this, and we're going to do really well, just like Lord of the Rings. But
should have just get Peter Jackson in, which actually is one of the references in the Percy Jackson books. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that Dionysus, who is the Greek god of drunkenness, madness, and revelry, is in charge of the camp filled with young teenage people. Not alone that, they are demigods, they have powers, and they have to be protected.
There you go, that's better.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But this man is meant to be their supervisor and moral leader and their role model.
Yeah.
He's the god of craziness and drunkenness, literally. But he trying to always prove he does not care at all about the kids under his care. He's only doing it because his father, the almighty Zeus, has forced him to do it for chasing a wood nymph. But what happened is that he always pretends to get Percy's name wrong. Yeah. So at one point he calls him Peter Jackson. And that is the greatest movie director reference I've ever seen in a book.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, that's so much fun. Okay, so we've gone on to those two. So those are our two worst picks for movie to film. Book to film adaptation. Now we can go on to the more fun stuff.
Yes.
The best book to film adaptation. And let's carry on the same way we have been. So you are more than welcome to start, and I will follow up behind.
All right. So my best film to book adaptation goes to The Book Thief.
Indeed.
Yeah, this is an absolutely amazing book by an Australian author called Marcus Zusak.
Yeah.
It was printed a while back, but not too long ago, in... 1 second, sorry, looking for the publication date. In 2005.
So The Book Thief was published in 2005. Okay.
Yes. So this story follows Liesel Memminger, who is a girl who goes to and grows up in Nazi Germany during the war and after its liberation. Well, after the liberation and the end of the Nazi Party.
Okay.
So she is basically growing up in this very strict society. As you know, Nazi Germany, not a lovely place to be.
No,
and
not the best
it
place
follows her story, and she firstly steals a book at... I hope no one here is planning to read the book because I will go into very explicit detail, but she steals her first book at the beginning of the book.
Yep.
Then at her brother's funeral, then succeeding that, she steals a book at this big bonfire in April and a celebration of the Führer's birthday, Adolf Hitler. They throw all these banned books into a huge pyre.
Yeah.
and she steals a book that has managed to survive the burning when everybody's left, and she brings it back to the house. But it's also the story about her relationship with her foster father, who is Hans Uberman.
So
And
sorry
her
to stop you there for a second. So this is the main reason why it's called a book thief then, is because she steals a
Yes.
book. So
Yeah, but not
the
only
premise.
that, she also steals multiple books. Really, though, she's borrowing them later on from a posh lady who her foster mother, Rosa Uberman, does the laundry for, before Liesel is discovered with the lady she delivers the washing to by the lady's husband reading with her, and he doesn't approve of it because Liesel is not a suitable companion for his wife, this young lower class girl, so he kicks her out of the house. But the lady leaves the door open or the little window to the library open for her, and she borrows books and returns them, and she gives her a dictionary as well. The lady gives Liesel a dictionary.
So can Liesel read?
Liesel, sorry.
Sorry, Liesel. Can she read before she meets with the lady, or does the lady teach her to read then?
Well, it follows her development story. Actually, Hans Uberman helps her learn how to read and helps her learn how to cope with her grief because she is wetting the bread she fed. She's not had a good upbringing. And when she wakes up screaming from her nightmares, Hans would come in and he'd read to her. He'd read her the first book she's stolen. They're reading it together, called The Gravedigger's Handbook.
Yeah.
And they finish that, and she learns how to read, and she starts reading by herself. So it's part of her progression. And she also does actually steal food as well.
All right.
In the book.
She does steal
her
food.
and this group of boys, and it is also has a male protagonist called Rudy Steiner, and Rudy is absolutely fabulous. He is the type of young boy who runs down a racetrack covered black with mud, screaming that he's Jesse Owens in Nazi Germany.
Wow.
Yes. Because he wants to be the fastest man on earth.
So just to stop you there, because that's probably a good chunk of information. Does all of this happen? So does all this happen in the film?
Most of it does, yes. They don't go into them actually stealing food or their little plots and adventures that. Oh boy, my memory's bad. I've forgotten his name already.
That was pretty good.
Rudy Steiner and Liesel get into to actually they put ice on a road so that the delivery boy will slip and they can steal the food from the basket on the bike.
So is that due to trying to keep the story consistent with the movie then, to try and keep it, because like with actions like that, they can be seen as petty in that way, sort of thing. I guess do they want to just be like this book thief, this girl is just trying to survive in a country full of Nazis who want to kill anyone who reads books that aren't allowed by their Führer.
So I think the reason they didn't portray this is also, yes, it would have reflected badly on both their characters, but there are indeed much more important things to focus on in the story.
Yeah, there's more detail there.
Yeah, and in the film there are some really, it's beautifully translated. They got the soul and the heart of the story very well, in my opinion. They had great actors. Jeffrey Rush plays Liesel's father, and he is fabulous in it.
Nice.
And also a lovely lady stars as his wife, and I feel really, really bad because I can never remember her name. Give me 1 second here. I should be able to find it. Well, yes, her name is Rosa Ubernaun in the book, but this lady often plays Jeffrey Rush's wife on screen, which I find is very funny.
Off screen, he plays.
On screen.
Oh, on screen. Sorry.
Yeah, she also played his wife when he portrayed Einstein in Genius.
Yep.
And she didn't play his wife in The King's Speech, but I know she did in one other series as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where.
So, okay. Let's, yeah. let's talk about some of the stuff on the list then. So get off track now. I'm beginning to lose my memory. So the story captures the heart. So the film captures the heart and soul of the story in your view.
Yeah, it also is very well made.
Yeah.
Very good costumes, very good lighting, extremely good setting as well. There's very good audio.
And it's and it captures the heart of the time, and it captures the heart of living in a country which is dominated by a superpower at the time.
It captures the heart of childhood and growing up in very difficult circumstances.
Okay. Yeah, please carry on talking. Like the more we know,
Yeah,
the better.
sorry.
That's all right. No, I'm just really getting into it. It's like, what other things can I ask then? It's great.
So, other things the story addresses is how Liesel was brought to the Ubermans, and this whole book is narrated by a very special character who is most memorized by Terry Pratchett, who made him a very funny character. But in this one, he's actually quite humane, and it's Death.
So Death is in the story.
Yeah, he introduces it and he narrates it and he gives it structure. And the whole point of the story is saying that death is haunted by humans and by human lives.
Death is haunted by humans. I like that.
Yeah, so he basically is the one who is telling the story of Liesel Memminger.
Yeah.
Because she wrote it all down in a book that was given to her by a Jew the family had saved. So his name was Max, and he managed to get to Hans and Rosa Uberman, and they protected him because his father had actually saved Hans when they were in the First World War.
Wow.
By simply saying that he had the best handwriting. So therefore he got left behind to work on documents when the others went out. And they all died.
That's insane.
And yeah, and he also taught Hans Uberman how to play the accordion.
Yeah.
And when Max shows up on the doorstep, he asked him if he still plays the accordion. And that's how they know that Max is who he is. He's the son of this man who saved Hans's life.
Wow.
And when he arrives, of course, he's tired and he's not well, so he's actually put up in the same room as Liesel.
Yeah.
And they start talking, and they start actually laughing and treating their situation with humor. But he arrives clutching the Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf.
Hitler's very infamous book on his life. And Liesel asks, "What are you reading?" And he goes, "It's a book not for children." It's like, "Can I read it? It's not for children."
Wow.
"Did you steal it?" "No." "Was it yours?" "It wasn't always mine." It's very great and lovely interaction between the two, and they become very good friends. And eventually Max is moved down to the basement, and he pretends he's box fighting Hitler every day to keep fit. He imagines himself doing that. And eventually he gets sick again because of the cold down in the basement during winter.
Yeah.
And there's a very tense scene in the book where the representative or someone who works in the Nazi party comes to check the depths of the basement to see if it's suitable as a refuge site during bombing.
Yeah.
But luckily it is just too small, just under the height, and they choose somewhere else just down the street. But they nearly find Max in there.
So is this all again? Is this all portrayed in the film as well? Is this all?
Yes, it is all portrayed in the film, except for Max fighting the Fuhrer, which would have been brilliant to see.
It would have been amazing. How long is the film then? Is it? We're talking a couple hours here. We're talking 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a regular length film. I think it's just around 2 hours, but it is very well portrayed. It doesn't forget or lose any major aspect of the book.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And then, of course, the most paramount for any good book to film is the conclusion. How is the conclusion in the book compared to the film?
The conclusion in the book gives us a more in-depth look for me into how Death reacted to Liesel and her life.
Yeah.
But in the film, it really does give a touching show of what her life was ended as, and that was a full life and a good life. But it's more of a neutral ending. It's less of, you don't get as much of the emotion involved.
So,
but it's still a lovely ending, and it's still a very powerful ending.
Yeah. So
it's just less personal.
So in the book, it's got a more personal touch to it. Do you feel?
For the end, for Death, it does, but both the film and the books have a very good personal touch.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, because the ending is paramount in any good film. Like it's the most paramount. That's what I feel like. Like if there's a good ending to a film, you can walk away. Like even if there were some spots where you know you could improve, like just like for the like Hans fighting Hitler, for instance, that would have been beautiful to see.
Yeah, but it would.
It's okay not being there because it's still enjoyable.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, any other notes you want to put in there? I'm probably cut about 15, 20 minutes for that.
Well, my notes, if anyone wants to watch the films or read the books, is do it, even though you probably heard plenty already. But that doesn't incorporate Marcus Zuzak's incredible writing style and his ability to show a scene and just draw in the reader.
Yeah. And
how beautiful the film is made.
Yeah. So which would you recommend first, the book or the film?
I would recommend the film first, simply because it is nice to watch. It will be easier for some people to dive into the book after seeing the film and getting a very good sense of what the book is. Yeah. But the book will always give so much more after seeing the film.
Of course. So it's still enjoyable to read the book, even though you've seen the film. You've seen most of the content in the film.
Most definitely. I've read this book several times. It's my go-to.
That sounds like one of my favourite books, which is being turned to the film, but I'm very much so not looking forward to it. But that'll be for another podcast. That'll be another one we'll jump into. Will be films that we're not looking forward to that are becoming movies. But yes, books that are becoming movies that we're not looking forward to. Something along those lines.
Yep.
Awesome. So that was The Book Thief. And then we've got the last one, which is my one. So that is The Shawshank Redemption. Now, if you've not seen this film, what the hell are you doing? Stop what you're doing.
Have you lived in space for the last 15 years or something?
Sit down and watch it. It's a classic. It is bloody beautiful and amazing, and it's definitely
starring Morgan Freeman. What else do you need to hear?
Freeman, of course, yeah. But the thing is, like, it is very much like an adult's film. So it's definitely you want to be like 16, 17 when you watch it, just due to the graphicness and just to them like just blatantly being honest in the film. It's just like, this is what prison life is really like. Yep, this is what
yeah,
it's like
it really does deal with all the aspects and all the human emotions and all the difficulties and that are entailed in being in this situation.
And all
so definitely not one for the toddlers.
No, and it's got all the cultural facts behind groups and gangs in the prison scenario, and people that smuggle stuff in, what happens to them, and all this sort of stuff, which is really good. But to start the story, it starts off with Andy Dufresne, and he is accused of killing his wife and her lover, and this exceptional event of scenarios makes it look like he did it because he bought a gun 2 days before his wife dies. He found out his wife was cheating on him. You know, he followed her, and all this happens, sort of thing. And he ends up drinking in the bar. He ends up apparently going to an off license and buying more drink and buying some cigarettes, and is sat outside the house. Eventually, he comes to his senses and he returns home. But this is all while he's already thrown the gun away. So sorry, he bought the gun on the 9th, and that was about 10 days before this happens. He throws it away 2 days before the murder of his wife, but they can't find the gun, so they can't match the bullets. But it's like he's been prosecuted as a stone cold killer. Very much like, I've read the novella, which is written by Rita Hayworth, I want to say. I'm not entirely sure. It's about 88 pages. There is also, of course, the Stephen King Shawshank Redemption, which is much bigger, which I've not had the privilege of reading yet, but I will be getting around to that very soon.
I have seen The Green Mile. That's quite dark, but that's Stephen King.
Yes. Yeah, so Stephen King is very much in the dark realm. And I would say the Shawshank Redemption is in that realm, because it does deal with, like, the first night that Andy Dufresne goes to prison, because he's given a life sentence with no parole. Oh wait, no, with parole. And the first night, one of the guys get killed. Like, you know, you straight up see the guards just murdering him with bludgeons. Simple. And it's just like, it sets a precedent of what prison life is, and you don't mess around with it and sort of thing. But Andy Dufresne, he's always innocent, and he knows this, and he sort of holds himself as a person. And there's some lovely stuff that I've been reading in the novella, which is like, it follows the Morgan Freeman, who plays him. It follows him and what life is for him, and he talks about Andy Dufresne, because that's how it all goes down, sort of thing. And it's he said in the novella, it was like, Andy Dufresne was probably one of the 10 people in Shawshank in my entire time there that I believed was innocent. That means everyone who he's seen, because, you know, they all say, yeah, I'm innocent, yeah, it's this, that, and the other. He's only seen 10 people in his whole life, and he was there for like 30, 40 years. And Andy Dufresne was one of the people that he believed was innocent, sort of thing. And it's really interesting, because the novella goes into the trial a lot more as well, so it's a lot more in depth there, which is kind of interesting, sort of thing. But of course, the film focused much more on the prison side, because there's so much going on in the prison. There's like so much deals and dodges being done, trying to escape the wardens, trying to escape the prisoners, trying not to be caught up in stuff, sort of thing. And I feel the film does it beautifully well. The actors do great. The costumes are really well made. The setup, the way that everything's built back for that time, it's absolutely fantastic. Like, it's on point with the story, is what I find, sort of thing.
And that's always a good signal for a movie. If you're taking it from a book, it does have to be on point with the story.
Exactly, and it has to, like, there are some creative, creative licenses in some parts, because you don't have all the time in the world. Because if I read, like, I'm doing book readings at the moment, like, you know, you could read a book, it could take 10 hours to read. You've got to condense that into 2 hours or an hour and a half or 3 hours of film. You've got to, and there's so much more film behind that sort of thing. But they've got to figure all that out, sort of thing, and get it in that way, sort of thing. But no, it's absolutely incredible how much detail. And I mean, Shawshank Redemption is just one of my favorite films anyway. I mean,
oh yes,
I've watched it about 10 times. You just sit there going, oh my god, it's still so good. And it's like, I'm going to double check the date it was released, because...
Well, just while you're doing that, I have looked up, and it is Wikipedia confirms Rita Hayworth did write the novella.
Perfect. I was actually right. I am majorly impressed with myself. I am... Go me! Woo!
Woo-hoo! Go Alex!
Woo-woo! It's not that I've just read it this morning. Nope, not at all.
Well, I can still quote the first page of Harry Potter Philosopher's Stone without looking several years after reading it.
She says that with an open browser page. Yes, I can do it. No problem. Easy.
Do you want me to?
So before you do that, the release date was, for the film, was the 17th of February, 1995. The film is...
So I was born 2 years later. Oh, that was the year you were...
I was born that year.
Yeah,
it is 23 years old, this film. 23. And it is still a really good film. That's
still a really well-made film. It hasn't dated.
No, it hasn't dated. But I think that's also partly due to the time it was set in, because it had because it was released in 1995, talking about the 1940s, so they had more technology and more basis to make it look good, and it's still a classic film. And hopefully the Book Thief 20 years down the line will be the same thing, that people look back at going still a good film. Yeah, still
yeah, definitely.
I mean, that I don't know if the Harry Potters will. I mean,
when it comes to the technology used and how it looks, no.
Yeah.
Storyline, the way it's told, definitely yes.
Yes.
And the acting, definitely yes. The only thing that bothers me, though, is that Dobby looked more realistic in the Chamber of Secrets than he did in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Yeah, but
that makes no sense.
Well, it's most likely due to the fact that they relied more on CGI the further they went into the films, because CGI became more prevalent in the CGI usage the further on we went. Because it's like if you look at the Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship and the Hobbit, for instance, sort of thing, they mostly relied on very little CGI for the Lord of the Rings, because they could have, but they decided to use a lot more real costumes, real effects. The whole Gollum, all of his movements are done by the actor, which is, if you have not seen it, if you go watch and check the Gollum behind the scenes,
comedian of the film,
and the way he moves, sort of thing, and they map onto that sort of thing. That's the level of detail you got to go. And in the Hobbit, they rely a lot more on CGI, a lot more computer based sort of things. And again, in the Harry Potter series, they relied a bit more on the CGI side rather than going for more tried and tested methods that make it look more realistic. It's the issue with new films relying on CGI is 5-10 years down the line, we'll look back and kind of go oh my god,
what?
That CGI is
yeah,
horrible.
see, one point is that I remember watching The Croods and going, it looks CGI. Even now, watching it here in the present moment, it looks CGI.
Who's that, sorry?
The Croods.
The Croods?
Yes. Disney film about Stone Age people.
Oh, yes.
Or pre-Stone Age.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage stars as the father in it. It's about the Stone Age family.
I think I know what you mean. The Croods. Croods. Yeah, the Croods. Yeah.
Croods. Yes, Croods.
But I guess the benefit of that is that it's all an animated film. Whereas if you try and blend animation with real stuff,
it stands out even more.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's if you look back, in 10 years' time, you look back and kind of go "Ooh, that's CGI. Ooh, ooh, hey man." Not so
I have to agree with Emma Watson. I think they are going to be redone within the next 20 years.
Oh, definitely. I reckon.
Because of that.
I reckon 20-25 years, the technology will become so much more advanced. It'd be like if you look back 25 years from now, back to the 90s, and how pixelated TVs were back then, how little detail, how much detail was lost compared to now, where we're on 4 to 8K television screens where people can just, it looks more realistic sort of thing, and films that have got CGI just can't hold up to that sort of thing. Whereas, again, we're talking about films that have, I don't think any CGI. I know for the Shawshank there's no CGI, and the Book Thief, is there much CGI in that at all, or is there? I don't know if there's any.
I think there might be a little, but not overly much.
And then for films that were sort of bad mouthing, Aragorn and the Lightning Thief, they relied heavily on CGI. That's it's the interesting thing. Another point is CGI was related and non-related to certain films, sort of thing, and that's why I view the Lord of the Rings are superior to the Hobbit, because they relied a lot more on real stuff rather than CGI sort of thing. That's why it looks nicer,
And also, in The Lord of the Rings, you have Gollum debating with himself, seriously hating himself, and it is the most funniest thing I've probably ever seen on film.
Yes!
No!
Leave
Yes!
And never come back!
Back!
What did you say? Leave and never come back! He's gone! He's gone! He's gone!
Gollum is free!
Free! It's Oh, it's one of the best scenes ever.
And then how happy he is afterwards, and he grabbing the rabbit and bringing it to Frodo, like, look what Gollum gets.
Look what Smeagol gets.
Gone. Yeah.
Look what Smeagol gets.
You'll find.
Here you are, Master. Smeagol got this. Potatoes.
Snatches it. And
Cook them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
you.
I
Big, lovely fried
love
fish with fat golden chips on the side. Chips?
What's chips?
Chips.
Chips.
Oh, you can't say no to a bit of nice fried fish. Oh, yes, we could.
Good. Give us raw and wriggling and fresh. This is what happens when two people who love Lord of the Rings get together. We love Gollum. Just Gollum. Screw everyone else. Gollum. My precious. Yeah. So
If we win, we eat a toll.
So yeah, going back to the Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
Because we go off a bit of track there. So yeah. So beautifully executed, like visually artistic, very, very nice straight linear articulation. It wasn't like, even though there's such big time skips, just due to the amount that it was like 20 years that he was in prison for. The time skips don't feel forced. They don't feel like they're just injected in there just to further the plot sort of thing. It actually follows the line and follows the linear pattern of where it should be going sort of thing, which is really nice to see, because you do get time skips, and it's like
10 seconds and then a full-grown dragon comes out of the clouds.
not time skips like that, like time skips like 5 years later.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
19 years later.
Rather, like, one of the time skips is Andrew Dufresne is sending letters off to the governor's office to request more books and more stuff in to teach the inmates and, you know, to give them education. And it's just like giving that letter every day sort of thing, and like it's just time passing sort of thing. You can tell time is passing until you get to the first letter. I was like, Andrew Dufresne decided to write 2 letters. Or like, was it like 3 letters every week and more, and it just kept getting more and more sort of thing. It's really lovely to see the progression. And of course, who doesn't love a good jailbreak from prison? If you've not seen the Shawshank Redemption, I mean, it's too late. This is 23 years down the line.
It's the classic jailbreak.
But
It's the one they always reference in movies, and they sneak in, like in the Muppets Most Wanted. That was Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, but the way so he tunnels through a wall that is it Frank? He reckons it would take 600 years to get through a wall with this, because he gets a hammer because he wants to do some rock shaping. He does it in about 22 years. He gets through this wall. He mines this wall out every single day, and Andrew Dufresne had to crawl through a mile of shit and crap, about 3 football fields, and it comes out and it's like reborn inside this thing sort of thing. It's like, oh my god. I mean, that takes some balls to do. I mean, that's just
even just managing to do that and managing to power through the vomit on yourself, because I highly doubt anyone could do that without vomiting at least once.
He definitely vomited a lot. I reckon he just didn't eat. I reckon he just didn't eat for that day just so he couldn't vomit.
So it'd just be bile.
I mean, like that scene, you can get a taste of it when you're watching of how filthy it is in there. And it was like, I'm so glad that's not me sat there.
Not me. It sort of is me though, unfortunately.
Yes, I'm sort of experiencing it at the same time. Unfortunately, I have to be going through this with Andy Dufresne, and then he gets out, takes all the money he wants, and you know, everything goes his way after that sort of thing. But it takes so many years, and so much of his life is gone because of it, sort of thing. All because a goddamn murderer ended up in the same place the same night and shot them to death.
Yep. You know what would be a good twist?
What?
If the murderer was actually a murderess, and it was the guy, his wife, or it was a woman, his wife was cheating on. If it was his
wife, his lover's wife.
was... Yeah.
Yes. So if it was the wife and the lover, if it was his partner, and actually came up and decided to shoot them all.
Yeah.
and blamed it on Andy Dufresne. What was it? It was like there's a quote in the book like it was probably the most amount of bad luck one person could get ever in their whole lifetime. Was like he's caught drinking, he's caught driving to this place, he had a gun but he threw it away, they couldn't find the gun, there's 8 bullet holes in the round, there's no way to prove it wasn't him, he's got no alibi. It's like it's an open and shut case, man. You know, you're screwed. I mean, you've really
perfect crime.
Yeah, and then it was just this random guy who walked up going, "Yep, I just killed those people because I felt like it. No other reason, just felt like it."
I am insane.
I am insane. I love it. And then the guy who could give him his freedom gets killed by the warden. Oh, I wanted to kill that warden. But yes, that is one of the reasons why I give it probably one of the best filmed book to film adaptations was just the sheer quality and just the way the actors played it, how well it was done, how well it was shot and filmed, music behind it, edited. Oh, it's just incredible. It's just a great film. I'm just gushing on this film now. I just like it that much.
Yeah.
I love your film. It's fine.
Yes, it is a great film.
So
I'd like to say great books and films as well.
Yeah.
I think the main thing about a great book is that it has to have a great opening line, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I can't remember what it was with Aragon. Oh, it was a description of the night.
I think it has to have a great first page. For me, I can read a couple of lines, and it just needs to like hook me in, just slowly pull me in, just like, ooh, what's going on here? Ooh, interesting. Ooh, really interesting. And
for me, oh sorry.
That's all right. No, I was just going to say, and then 400 pages later, 2 days later, from reading through the night, I've just wasted a whole weekend of being a teenager. It's great when you live in the countryside. There's no one to see, so you just sat there, just reading the book until about 4 o'clock in the morning. I go, I should go to bed. The sun's coming up. 10 more pages. 100 more pages later, and that's how you read all the Harry Potter books so quickly.
Ah, yes.
But what was it
they always just start so well. Like with the Book Thief, it starts off. There's little bits before it, but the main thing you see is here's a small fact: you are going to die. I mean, it's just there.
It's just like a click moment sort of thing.
Hello,
like, right,
you are reading a book. Pay attention.
You're not getting out of this book now. You're in this book.
Yes.
Enjoy this book.
And with Harry Potter, it's Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4, Privet Drive. We're happy to say they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. And then it's like, happy to say? Why does it say? Are they not normal? Why are they not normal?
It gives you questions and it gives you a reason to carry on. It's like, oh, what's going on here then?
Yeah, a good book always creates more questions than it answers.
Yes, yes. And that's how you can get more books out of it, because you give them, just like J.K. Rowling, for instance, she gave people a satisfactory first book, but with an open ending. But it was a satisfactory ending because you knew where he was going, you knew that he was safe, you knew that he was alive, but you wanted more. I was just like, I want more of this. But
like, is he gonna terrify Dudley this summer, pretending he's gonna turn him into a pig again?
Exactly. And I think that's how good books should end. Is they wrap the story up neatly in the story, but you can keep an open end. I feel like if you wrap the main plot points, just like for Harry's, because it had a school year, had all that going on, sort of thing, wrapped it up really nicely and neatly. Like he gets on the train to go home again, but you want to know what happens next year.
What's quite funny is that the first 2 books basically follow the exact same pattern.
Yes.
He goes to school. He's stopped going to school in some manner.
Yep.
He manages to get to the school.
Yep.
They bullies him.
Yep.
He succeeds. He fights Voldemort. He wins.
But he still doesn't win the Quidditch Cup.
No. Never wins the Quidditch Cup. And poor Oliver Wood is trying to drown himself in the showers.
It does. It happens in the. It happens in the Prisoner of Azkaban. They win the cup, I believe.
No, because Harry gets hit by the Whomping Willow. His broom does, and he doesn't get a replacement one till the end of the year with the firebolt that.
Goblet of Fire, and then the Goblet of Fire doesn't happen because there's a Triwizard tournament on.
Yes.
So it's
Order of the
Order of the
Phoenix.
Phoenix
It's
because it's Wood's last year in the Order of Phoenix. Because Wood is 2 years older
yeah.
than Harry. It's
No, I think Wood leaves at the end of. Yeah, he leaves at the end of the Prisoner of Azkaban, and they meet again in the next book, which is
Goblet of
the
Fire.
Goblet of Fire. And Oliver Wood has been signed on to as a backer of a Quidditch team. Are you supporting the Irish side? Yeah,
Always.
because we won the Quidditch World Cup final. Ha ha ha.
Crumb got the snitch, but Ireland won
We
the
won
World
the
Cup.
match.
So good. So, but Harry does win the
He does at some point, but Oliver Wood never did.
I swear, Oliver. I'm gonna check this out actually. Did Oliver?
No, they never won the House Cup as with him as captain.
There we go. Does Oliver Wood win the Quidditch Cup? Did Harry ever? Ginny Weasley played as Seeker, and her position as Chaser was taken over once again by Dean Thomas. Gryffindor won the Quidditch Cup for the second year in a row.
But who was captain? It wasn't Wood. Wood was gone by the time Ginny.
So what
was
year?
playing on the
What year
Quidditch
did
team.
Wood leave? What year did Wood leave?
He left at the end of the Prisoner of Azkaban. I'm telling you.
And so in 1994, he attended the Quidditch World Cup where he saw so he won there. Who won the Quidditch? Okay.
He never won the House Cup for.
No, they won the House Cup all the time. The House Cup.
Oh yeah, they never won the Quidditch School Cup.
Yes. Gryffindor won the Quidditch Cup for the second year in a row. So let me have a look at that for a second. Yeah, that's fine. Accept advertising cookies. I accept your advertising cookies. So let's have a look. Okay, here we go. So, flattened by Slytherin over Oliver Wood was Gryffindor's keeper, and Fred, Ginny, and George Weasley were beaters. There we go. Okay, so that's that. Harry had to leave with Ron after the spell Ron attempted to cast. Malfoy backfired, causing Ron to belch up slugs. School year. This is our chance, my last chance to win the Quidditch Cup. I believe at the end of this year I'll never get another shot at it. Has overseen in the last few years, the first year this was the first year they'd won the Quidditch Cup since Charles Weasley was on the team. They won it in the Prisoner of Azkaban.
No, in the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry got his.
He still won the cup.
Snapped into a Whomping Willow.
He did, but he still won the cup. In the 1993 to 1994 school year, the team is said by Lee Jordan to be the best team Hogwarts has ever seen in the last few years. This was the first year they won the Quidditch Cup since Charles Weasley was on the team. Gryffindor kept the same.
You're looking at the same page I am. I think it's highly questionable.
I'm looking at the fandom page. So it was 17-year-old Captain Oliver Wood last season. They trained 3 times a week. The Slytherin vs Gryffindor match was rescheduled as Flint claimed his Seeker Malfoy had injured his arm. So the first match was this all makes sense. Yeah, I'm up to date with all this. Yeah. So Cedric caught the snitch, giving Hufflepuff a win by 100 points. He offered a rematch, but Gryffindor accepted the defeat. Harry's Nimbus 2000 was blown by the Whomping Willow, which destroyed it. Gryffindor increased their training to 5 times a week, because you remember Harry's coming back each night with mud traipsed all over his foot and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. They were really focused on it. I know.
Exactly. Like, so much going on. Like it was, like that's all they did was just like, we must win the cup. We must win the cup. Bam. So for the game against Ravenclaw, Harry flew his new Firebolt. Because he did get a Firebolt. Because remember, he got his uncle sent him the firebolt, but it got taken by McGonagall to be checked over to make sure there's no curses, no hexes over it, sort of thing. And that was away for like a couple of matches, basically. So he was on the Comet 260, and that's when he had the opposing seeker Cho Chang and flew Comet 260 in clear, cool conditions. Gryffindor took an 80-point lead, but Ravenclaw managed to claw back to 80-30 when Harry spotted the snitch for the third time. Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle and Flint walked onto the pitch dressed as Dementors. Harry, having been given anti-Dementor lessons, shot a Patronus at them and then caught the snitch. So that gave Gryffindor the win.
Damn it, how did I forget them nearly be trampled by a big glowing silver stag?
Exactly. So Wood saved again, and Gryffindor scored a goal from Bell, made the score 50-10. Bole and Derek winded Wood with 2 bludgeons through the stomach. Johnson scored the resulting penalty, and Gryffindor moved on to 70-10 lead when Alyssa scored as Harry chased the snitch. Malfoy grabbed his firebolt. Alyssa then missed a penalty, and Montague scored for Slytherin. After Johnson scored, the match was 80-20. Malfoy plummeted towards the snitch. Harry pursued him with both took hands off the broom to reach and capture the snitch, winning Gryffindor the Quidditch Cup. There you go. It happened to the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Well, good for Wood.
Good for Wood. Good for Wood. And I think that's probably the best time to leave it then.
Yes. With Harry Potter.
With Harry Potter, because we all love Harry Potter. Just heavy rock and metal just in the background.
Yep.
Right then, that has been our first podcast. We shall sort out the mic issue because it's still very crackly, and for our next stream will be on Thursday 6:30 p.m. So every Monday, every Thursday 6:30 p.m. on the dot as best we can. We will try and be early next time because we were a bit late today. And that was a wonderful first podcast. Thank you very much, my Hobbit co-host.
And thank you too, the Giant. I hope you all have a really lovely day, and I hope you enjoyed listening to the ramblings from a guidebook to nowhere.
The guidebook to nowhere, the most wonderful ramblings we could do. And we will sort out the mic issue because it is quite crackly, but we will sort that out for this Thursday coming. See you all 6:30 p.m. every Monday, every Thursday for another podcast. And
looking forward to it.
And look out for what else we'll be talking about. Take care and goodbye. Goodbye.